Hi there. I'm in Indianapolis today at the Luminous-Landscape offices, and I'd like to talk to you about this baby. This is the Sony 12-24 FE G lens. Now, this is not a G master lens like a lot of the lenses that have come out, but a few months ago, Sony invited us to Santa Barbara, a number of my colleagues and myself, to show us off two new lenses, the 16-35 G master lens and the 12-24 G lens. The G lens was recently released, and as always, I like to purchase the lens and do a review with an actual model, and this is what this is all about. There's a lot of content in the article and review below, which I hope you take a look at. There's some zoomable pictures where you can zoom in and see images at 100%. But let's talk a little bit about this, and then I'll come back to the article itself. This is one incredible lens. It is so light, it's hard to believe. This lens weighs just 19.7 ounces. Goes for the price of $16.98. It was a surprise to all of us when it was announced, mainly because we were expecting more G master glass, and they sprung this 12-24 on us. For myself, when Canon released their 11-24 lens, I was really liking that lens. It's a beautiful lens. I've seen a lot of my friends use it. I've had a chance to use it once or twice. And there's something about ultra wide, which I show in some of the illustrations below in the article. But this is one beautiful lens. First off, I don't know how they made it feel so light. It has weather resistance, so it's resistant to moisture and dust, but it's not like waterproof and dustproof and so forth. And here I am with it out of my camera, so let me put it back on here real quick. But let me talk quickly about it. This is easy zoom ring here to do your zooming. There's an AF, autofocus manual focus switch, and a focus hold button. This focus hold button is really nice because if you're doing some work and you want to hold the focus, you just kind of use your thumb right here and hold the focus and shoot the picture. Now, this button can also be customized, so you can use it for depth of field or any number of different assignments if you want to use it. The lens hood is built in, okay, and it's got a gigantic lens cap that snaps on here and then comes off, and there's two releases to bring it off. So the first thing you'll notice is the fact that there's no filter holder. That's kind of a shame, meaning you can't screw filters into something like that. It's because it's got a big bubble lens. It's very bubbly out front in the sense it's a very curved front glass, and the lens shade is basically there to protect it, and it's built in so that you can't take it off and scratch it. I mean, you put the camera down like this and you'd be okay. So there are a couple companies that will be building lens filter holders for this. Nisi is one of them, and Wine Country Filters is another, and they're going to be building these for wide angle lenses, and there'll be a device that slips over the front of the lens, clamps on, and then you can drop in your gradated filters and or polarizer or neutral density filters. So if you're going to be using this lens for that kind of work, it's fine. I don't remember the last time I did something with a ultra wide lens where I needed that, but now that it's going to be available, I'll certainly use it. I use the Wine Country filter system, so you'll see that review previously on the web. So let's go over some of the details on this lens. It's got 122 degrees view of field. It's classified as an ultra wide lens, and it's just very nice to work with. It's got 17 elements and built into 13 groups. There's an illustration below in the article if you're interested in that, as well as the MTF charts for this lens, which are very impressive if you're into MTF charts. Frankly, I like to shoot with a lens and make my determination based upon my shooting experience, which you're going to see a lot of images below for that. The price is $1,698 and comparable to the Canon lens, which they have an 11-by-24 f4L lens. That comes in around $2,799, very expensive. It's also very heavy. It's a 41.6 ounce lens. Now compare that to the 19 ounce here. This is half the weight, more than half the weight of the competing lens in the Canon lineup. And Nikon also has a 14-24, which is very similar to this. It's an f4. It weighs in at 35 ounces, so once again, you're talking about something that's almost twice as heavy. and it sells for around $1,897. And you can probably get a special on it if you're looking at this in July. So bottom line is, I've had a lot of fun with this lens. It opens up a whole new field of photography as far as the angle of view goes. I explained below in the article that it's kind of a tricky lens. If you work on the axis above or below normal horizontal, you're going to introduce a new kind of field of distortion, a lot of which can be corrected sometimes in Lightroom or Capture One as far as their perspective control goes. But if you're a creative photographer, you'll learn how to use this lens in regards to adding new fields of composition. It tends to bring the sky in, especially if you have clouds and any kind of foreground. It kind of just like sweeps you into the scene. And you'll see some examples of that also below. Bottom line is, my experience with this lens has been great. I really like it. I can't wait to get the 16-35, which is the next lens coming out, and the 100-400 millimeter lens, both G Masters, which I'll be doing a review on after I get them. So we expect to see those in early August, at which time I'll start shooting immediately so that I can do a report on it. If you're into the Sony E-mount camera system, and you should be, because there's some interesting things coming. You don't think they're making this G Master glass with all this resolution that the glass can offer without some kind of camera coming in the future that can handle that. So once again, that's purely speculative on my part, but I think we're going to see some pretty interesting things from Sony in the next several months. Meanwhile, this won't hurt to put it in your bag. So I have now the 12-24, I'll have the 16-35, 24-70, I've got the 85, the 70-200, the 100-400, and I'll get the extenders for the 100-200, 100-400, as well as the 70-200, 1.4 and 2x. That makes for a very nice zoom lens kit. I also have a number of primes, which I keep in my bag, and we'll talk more about the primes some other time. Just a note on that, one of the things that you should be aware of now is that the battle between primes and zooms is a lot less narrow than it used to be. These lenses are so good these days as far as zoom lenses go that the investment in a zoom lens in regards of only having to have 4 lenses in a kit that give you a very wide range of field. So with 4 lenses, I can cover everything from 12 to 400 millimeters in the field of coverage. And know that I've got a sharp lens that works really, really well. So as much as I like shooting with primes, that's just a lot more glass you have to haul around, especially when you're in the field. And as you can probably tell by the gray beard, I'm getting up there in the years. So hauling things around in the field isn't as easy as it used to be. So I'm into the zooms these days, and I feel very good about the zooms that I have, specifically the Sony zooms and the G Masters. So that's about all I have. Read all the information below in the article. It's got a lot of images that you can look at. I did a comparative test against my bookcase, my famous bookcase at home, at 12 millimeter setting and 24 millimeter setting at various f-stops, if you'd like to look at those. Plus there's a lot of other examples of the lens and how it works. So appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate you taking the time to read the extended review and article below. And I'll see you on the Luminous Landscape.